Yeah, so I've been offline for a while. Right now you can also take that literally. Yeah. But anyway, as you know, my name's Sammy and welcome to Traveling Wrong. So I haven't made a video in a while. When I first started making videos, I read a ton of instructions. One thing I found was to never apologize for not making videos. So I won't be apologizing for that. And I'm very sorry about the lack of apologies on that matter. Yeah, anyway. So I think the last video I posted was in, July, about my trip to Penang. Since then, a lot of stuff has happened. So I thought I'd make a kind of a video about the last half a year, kind of rewind it back a bit. There's been some good stuff, some not so great stuff, a few new countries and stuff like that. So if you're interested, this was my last half a year. So anyway, let's dive in. No pun intended. So rest of July, August and the time around then was pretty much the same as my time in Koh Tao was in general. Nothing special, but it was a great life. Great diving, hanging out with nice friends. Nothing really worth mentioning, but it was a good time. We did invent Hobo Jenga though, so there's that. So September. In early September my visa started running out again and I went to Koh Samui to extend it. I filmed a bunch of stuff on this and my previous trips to Samui and I was gonna make a full video about extending the visa there, but before I could, the immigration moved, and since a lot of stuff changes anyway, I don't think I'll be making that video after all. But here's some footage from that. That time I also stopped in Koh Phangan to skate around for a little bit. I had an hour layover there, so I skated around a bit and I also ended up seeing this hungry Navy ship. You may ask, how is it hungry? But am I the only one seeing this? So also in September I realized that my money is not gonna last forever and it's gonna run out in next some months. So I got an idea from a friend to apply for a ski season job in Europe. I'd never really even thought that's something I could do, so I started sending applications right away. I sent applications to a bit over 30 different jobs. So then October rolled around and of course, as month had passed, my visa started to run out again. So I headed north from Koh Tao and as I like to do, I did a couple days stop in my former home, Bangkok. During this time, I got very unlucky and had most of my camera stuff stolen from my backpack. So this caused a lot of extra grief and I had to start fighting with the insurance company. A bit more on that later. So just a day or two before I was gonna leave Bangkok and head to southern Laos, I got a message that I got the airport transfer driver job in Chatel in France. So I diverted my trip a bit more south to Siem Reap in Cambodia so I could realize my long-time dream of visiting Angkor Wat. So here's some footage from there. Full video about this is still on the way at some point. I shot a lot of stuff. The real reason why I diverted my trip to Cambodia was that there's a lot more embassies there than in southern Laos. So when I got to Siem Reap, I started my longest and most infuriating bureaucracy battle ever. So I headed to Siem Reap because I knew they had a French consular there, honorary consular, but still. I got this job in France, so I figured they could help me in a little paperwork that was very simple. Turns out they couldn't. So first I emailed the guy. He told me that he can't help me since countries have some kind of agreement and I should contact the Swedish embassy as a Finnish citizen. So he told me to contact the Swedish embassy in the capital city and I did that. They told me they could help me, but they could only help me if they get a request from a Finnish embassy. So then of course I called the Finnish embassy in Bangkok, but they outright told me that the paperwork I wanted cannot be done. So at that point I contacted my boss, who I contacted a million times during this process, and after talking to him I decided to call them one more time to make sure they did understand me correctly. And turns out they had, and they already rudely told me that it cannot be done and they cannot break the law for me even though my job depends on it. So that's that. I really felt stuck and decided I need to do other plans. I even took an interview with another company because I thought I'm surely to lose this job. Then I realized I could maybe call a Swiss embassy, since turns out the papers I needed were for Swiss paperwork, since my job required me to drive in Switzerland. So I called the Swiss embassy in Bangkok and they were even less help. They just told me that they cannot help me since I'm not a Swiss citizen. I'm so thankful to being able to make long distance calls through Skype though. That really helped me out on this process. So I got one more idea and contacted the Finnish embassy in Switzerland. And finally I found someone who actually wanted to help me. So the person helping me was really helpful and she even contacted the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of Finland and got the get things sorted out with them. Turned out that it was absolutely legal to make the papers I wanted, and the people in Bangkok just had the wrong information. She even sent messages with the ministry and with me to Bangkok so I wouldn't have to try to convince them to do something again that they thought was illegal. And that's how it worked out. I'm so thankful for this person in the Finnish embassy in Switzerland. So I took a bus back to Bangkok and went to the embassy to pick up the paperwork, where, for my surprise, no one even acknowledged this whole mess up. I didn't actually even talk to anyone Finnish. I just spoke with the Thai customer service guy in the front. No one apologized for this mix-up or anything. That was really weird to me, and I really thought it would have been just common decency to come say, sorry, we messed up, hopefully everything's fine now. So anyway, I got the overpriced papers in an envelope and sent them with a pretty expensive sum, and ended up spending well over 100 euros for this paperwork, but at least it was done now. So again, I spent some time in Bangkok and then headed to Koh Tao for some diving and relaxing before heading out of Thailand. Packed my stuff in there, went back to Bangkok for a couple more days and flew home. So November. So like I just said, in November I had my first trip to my home country, Finland. I'm not a big fan of returning, since usually when you return, you go there for an undefined time. But now I knew I'd only be staying for a couple weeks, so it was actually very nice to go. And that was because then I had secured a job in France. According to that, I had got the one job, I got an offer for a second one, and I still were asked for an interview a bit later than this. They're awful driving jobs though. Seems like no one wants me to run their chalet. So overall November was pretty good. I went to the university to pick up my diploma, I had a French bachelor party which was great, and I found myself a cheap backgammon board online and a penny board. Which, by the way, are totally different kinds of boards. This is the other one. So in November I also started my current adventure. I flew out of Finland to Geneva, left my snow gear at a friend's place there, and flew back to Netherlands to see a friend. Didn't do too much there, but had a great time and ate some capsulons, so what else you need? So just when December began, I left my friend's place in Netherlands and flew back to Geneva, to other friend's place. Thanks guys for having me, by the way. The next day I got a ride to Chatel, where I'm now, in this nice little mountain town. So I got here really in the beginning of December, really hoping to do a lot of good snowboarding before my job even started, but that really ended up not happening at all. Snow situation was really bad throughout my first month here. It was completely green everywhere. I got to do some snowboarding, but not that much. It wasn't that great. Anyway, we had a training for our job and started doing it, and it has been very nice. My job is to drive tourists from here to Geneva airport and back. In December I also ended the battle with the insurance company about the camera. They ended up not paying me pretty much anything for it, as I didn't see it get stolen or feel it. Wasn't too happy about that. They did give me a standard payment of 150 euros, but when the replacement cost for your camera gear is 1,000 euros, that doesn't really warn you that much. They claimed that since I didn't see it get stolen, I might have just lost it, which of course is quite impossible from a closed compartment on your backpack where everything is on the bottom. As the year changed, I kept doing my job. We got quite good snow after maybe the first week of January, and ended up doing some really good boarding on the mountain. Sadly, the snowfall really didn't continue and a lot of it started to melt too. Early February we got some more snow, and fingers are crossed that it will continue. We'll see. So that's pretty much what's happened. There will be videos about my Angkor Wat visit and some other things, but stuff will be more infrequent than it was. I have been and am a bit more busy, and I have a real internet trouble since I don't have a connection at my place right now. So let's see if I even can get this online at some point. Hopefully pretty soon. So hopefully it was interesting for you and you still keep your interest for my videos in the future. All stuff is still there if you haven't seen it, and yeah, always remember, traveling wrong, there's really no such thing.